my Eros, my whore, my sacred whore, I get to enjoy her too. My healer, I get to enjoy her too. My warrior, like I get to enjoy all of them, and you don't get to tell me how I get to enjoy her on my terms. So if I'm raging, let me rage so I can still rage for you. Let me please myself so I can still please you. Let me heal myself so I can still heal you. And again, as a integrated empath that's here to really advocate for us, it's to advocate for our shadow side to exist too. Like I advocate for healer, like healers deserve to. I deserve to get cash fucking money. I was told a few months ago that because I can afford a gym membership, I should be ashamed of myself because women who were activists of the past struggled, and I told that bitch to go fuck herself. Because you, again, I'm not a martyr. I'm not the fucking help. Like Jesus died for your sins, bitch. I'm not going to. Like, no.
Welcome back to the Magic of the Spheres podcast. This is Sabrina Monarch, and this is a show about spiritual lifestyle and personal evolution. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, a clairvoyant, and a thought leader, and I started this podcast to have eclectic and impactful conversations about astrology as well as all things spiritual and personal development. Introducing the Trap Witch. This woman's creativity is a whole wildfire to behold. Her expression lit up a fire in my life a few months back since I first encountered her online presence. Her transmissions were dazzling me, delighting me. They were mirroring and activating some deep processes that I was undergoing that were revolutionary to me. I was like, this woman's on the pulse. This woman is a live wire. And getting to speak with her on this podcast and go deeper into all of it is such a dream. We start out with exploring this path of big, exalted, romantic love, peak dreams realized, big dreams in life realized as Venus and Pisces oracle women. And the flip side of that, the enchanted forest of shadows and darkness along the way that marks the path to holding something of that magnitude and caliber. So there's a lot about the dark feminine in this podcast. There's a lot of deep inspiration. And I think the combination of that depth and that magic is something you'll really feel as you're listening. This was one of my favorite podcasts thus far. It was full of lots of downloads, chills, life force rising, fairy godmother moments, codes, and transmission. It was lit. So ignite yourself and have a listen and let us know what your takeaways are, what you resonated with. Find the post on social media. I'm there, Sabrina Monarch. The Trap Witch is at The Trap Witch. And you can let us know. So if you're new to this podcast, subscribe and follow for deep dive astrology transmissions and other riffs that are always at depth around here. Pluto, god of the underworld, that rippling undercurrent that underlies all creation from the Big Bang to our deepest primal urges and our more complex subtleties as people on the cutting edge of evolution. That transformative energy has been at the heart of my practice for more than a decade now. You can find a free mini course on the astrological Pluto to really get to know this archetype at a level of transmission beyond it being a mere, overlooked, under-talked about, quote, generational signature on my website at sabrinamonarch.com. Make sure to get on my mailing list. I have a lot of big announcements coming up about my next astrology school. I am reteaching my whole body of work with my updated understandings in a new program called the Felt Sense School of Evolutionary Astrology. Announcements are forthcoming. And I also have a new free event for the public called the Lunar Mysteries of Creation that I will be announcing and sharing soon. So don't miss anything and get on my mailing list. And I will leave you with this epic conversation with the Trap Witch now. Hey everyone, I'm so thrilled to be here with Tatiana, the Trap Witch. Your work, your posts, your messages have had such an impact on me, as you know, because I told you in our reading, but just to reiterate it here, Yeah, when I found out you're a Venus in Pisces, also that added so much for me. I feel like Venus in Pisces, something that I've understood about that placement is that we have really high exalted standards in love, like that we're here for like a really deep, epic, otherworldly love story. And that sounds like a lot of fun, and it really is in its high moments, but there's a long way to fall as well. And there's kind of like the opposite side in terms of how the romantic atmosphere of the world can be so uninspiring, or all the kind of like mythic obstacles on the way to finding that love. And yeah, I just felt so connected to your writing and felt you speaking to things that I hadn't really seen spoken about that way before. And it really awakened and activated something in my process. So I'm just really excited to have you here. It's a long-winded introduction. But yeah, thank you for being here.
No, I'm deeply honored to be here with you and have held space for you as well. Yeah, Venus and Pisces energy. Pisces, of course, rules the other worlds, the astrals, the imagination. And like you said, like when Venus is in Pisces, it's super dreamy. I think that my Venus in Pisces has really helped me in that what they call like that Delulu girl syndrome. I think at its most beautiful and exalted, it's definitely great for manifestation because it's allowed me to say to people, who's going to stop me? Like, who's going to tell me my dreams aren't real, that I can't manifest? I think it's a beautiful placement for the divine feminine to live in, but at its detriment. And what house is yours in again?
First house.
Oh, yours is in the first house. Mine is in the eighth house. So I always joke to people and I tell them that I'm a Kraken, not a koi. So yeah, like that's the way that I like to describe Venus and Pisces in the eighth, because as much as I love like the beauty of the lightness of the imagination and the delulu of the just the Venus and Pisces, like I realized how dark I can get, especially when I was living in times where my dark feminine wasn't integrated. And, the inner child and how she wants to be loved, not just by in romance and but in platonic relationships, it's, she's dreamy, but she's also dark. And when she's dreamy and she's dark, she can become a nightmare. And I really had to start taking accountability in these recent years where that placement and that delusion can be a nightmare, not just for myself but for other people experiencing that. And I think especially women, and I think this is a good thing to enter with as we're going to be talking about the divine feminine, but like as women and the divine feminine, we deserve a lot. We deserve our love story. We deserve to believe that we can manifest beyond the ancestral curses, and not only of our family but of just women in society and what we deserve. But being terrors and nightmares, and I've spoke about this before it became popular, but I remember having to say to people like women can be predators too, because I've been one in the pursuit of romance. And I think Venus and Pisces, and especially like I said in the eighth house, like she is Joe from You. Did you ever watch the show You? It was,
Oh,
yeah, it's like a really viral show on Netflix, and I really saw a lot of myself in Joe, and I love his character because I've said to people like this is a lot of us who equally want to be loved and give love, but what are the lengths that we are willing to go to drag people into our shadow and also not heal it in order to experience it?
wow. Yeah, I think there's something about the feminine, being the call or the invitation or the portal, and that like that is the feminine's practice, work, devotional space to cultivate that realm. And it can be a nightmare or it can be a dream. And yeah, I think that I love that you're naming that with the eighth house too. I have Pluto trine my Venus, so I have some resonant experiences with the nightmare versus the dream.
I think it's really important for us as women to talk about that, like even like I said, like the predatorial aspect, and maybe we don't want to always, name it that, but like, Venus and Pisces, like she loves potential, and she loves potential in anyone and everyone. And what I realized is that you can't drag anybody into their full potential. You can't dream them into their full potential. And for myself, like I talked about being, a Kraken, it's like I want to go deep and I want to go deep now. But at the same time, we have to be careful because if you do go deep sea diving, you just can't descend to the depths extremely fast. Like you will explode your lungs. You will put yourself and others in danger. And I had to learn that, and I think this is especially for spiritual women because we are in a time where so many women are talking about the divine feminine, the dark feminine, and even if you are a seer, you are an oracle, you're an empath, one of the downfalls of that is seeing people's potential, seeing what you can do to help them, seeing the blueprint, seeing the fullness of your vision right there, because we are all, dreamers and vision makers now in the vision board. Like you can see Mr. Potato Head now in his full potential. And you're like, come on, let's go. And being present with people in their process, first of all, we don't want to do that. And second of all, sometimes nor should we do that. And so, even for myself with this placement, especially, I've been learning how to inspire and be the muse and not the mother.
Exactly.
Yes.
I resonate so much. Like, stop caretaking, basically. Like, I noticed those sneaky patterns, basically, of trying to edit or fix people or nurture them into something versus, like, what if I just, and I feel like actually your page helped me a lot with that. Like, that's the transmission I was getting in some sense of like letting go of my own delusional patterns, basically, that come from wanting to see the best in things, wanting to see the best in people, not having access to my own anger, having like fucked up experiences, and then not necessarily wanting to talk about that either, because it doesn't seem demure and cool in public and all this kind of stuff.
And it's such a balance because, and it's 11:11 here in the States as we say that in Atlanta, but like it's such a balance, like you said, like swinging from being completely delusional and overly empathetic and an overgiver to the fierce dark feminine and her most like raging aspects that should like grab the patriarchy by their balls and be like, I should wear your balls for earrings. But I find the hardest part, and this is the season I'm in, is how are you still strong but soft? How do you see people for where they're at and then allow them the space to grow into that potential if they are doing that work? So that's why even recently I really had to sit back and be like, although I'm this like dark femme general warlord, and I've had to become that due to protection, as many women have had to learn to protect their hearts and themselves. How do you cultivate these relationships with the masculine or just in general, however you identify? How do you allow people to rise and meet you in mutual safety? Because the dark femme wants to protect herself and she really does want to protect others. But a lot of women who are right now coming into their dark femme, and I think we have to say this, is that they do want to protect that inner child in themselves because they've been hurt and they've been betrayed, and they swing from complete anxious attachment to then avoidance. And that's where I'm at, where I had to recognize like I will swing from complete anxiousness to avoidance, especially if you're a hyper independent and then you get attached. And it's like, how dare you allow me to get attached? How dare I allow myself to get attached? And then also becoming a runner, and avoiding and not giving things time to marinate or be at a pace or be at a place where you have such fierce radical self-love that you can be in your own experience while another person's in theirs, and maybe your paths will mesh in a healthy way together and you become into union. But no one wants to talk about the radical accountability also the feminine needs to take in her toxicity. And I've had to be really real. Like I've had to apologize to men where like I was completely toxic.
So what do you think is the big picture like awakening that's happening right now? Like I love your take on this.
I said this at a panel in 2022. I heard this from someone else, but although I consider myself a radical feminine, people are saying like the future is feminine, the future is feminine. Like, no, like the future is family. And it's remembering where the feminine was neglected in that family structure. Like there's reasons why, you know, capitalism, colonialism, all these things, Christianity is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Where does the mother fall into that? Where does she fall into besides being punished for the fuck? Did she eat the apple or did she not? Did she, like why do we not talk about men having Jezebel spirits? Like, there's so much demonization of the feminine, of her part in the family structure, besides her just laying down to be a fucking mother and a supporting role and a caretaker or a sexual object. We've forgot the humanity, like the true humanity and the spirit and the soul of respecting women in the family structure. And that's what we're in the remembrance of. So for me, I've been told by Spirit that although I am here to radically help women put themselves first, it's to remember where we have always had honor and reverence in the family structure where we have been neglected. And again, men have also neglected themselves through, making these like nasty shadow aspects of patriarchy king. When they're false kings, they're false lights, they're false sons. So we're at this time where we're asking the divine masculine to rise into remembering being true kings, being true sons, being true lights, but also women, we are big shadows and mirrors to that. And also facing our shadow of where we've allowed this lack of remembrance of where we fall in is important. And when the election happened here in United States in November, and I'm not really like picking a party, but when women were just disappointed that we weren't going to have our first female president, I wanted people to not go into freeze, especially women, because so many of us had a freeze moment right after that because we were so hopeful. And we have to remember that whether it was like the witch trials, a lot of us have in our body this freeze memory or fight memory that we're either always going to freeze or fight, and we're not going to be sovereign and embody. So right now, I think it's important for women to be in that sovereign embodiment in all aspects, with their spirituality, with their emotions, with their physical body. And that's why I'm such a promoter of the fully embodied woman. Like, I own my sexuality, I own my intelligence, I own my freedom, like just everything, because that's where we've just been pushed into certain boxes
Yeah.
pick. And the woman who's a mother, who's a wife, who's just a fucking woman in her own spirit, we've forgotten that we can be honored in the family structure and be all of those things.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that too. Also, knowing you have this Sagittarius stellium in the fifth house and just like what it means to be like really fully embodied and expressive, and how that connects to this kind of sovereignty or like, yeah, better experiences in love also. And maybe some of the challenges of it too, because every time we're expressive, we're going to get a lot of feedback as well.
I think that, it's interesting you bring up that placement because the first thing that came into my mind just now when you brought that up was maybe in like 2019. It was right before I manifested my last relationship. Um, and I had women saying to me, because I'm, on my page, I'm honest about manifesting relation and divine union and partnership. And I had someone kind of project, it was maybe like two women project, like, Trap Witch, I just can't imagine, like a man being beside you. You're just like too much of a powerful woman. Like, and it was this virginization. It's like, how they told the story of Christ. Like, Christ didn't have a boo. Like, it's like the nun, it's the Pope, like that aspect of like the Hierophant and the guru that is so connected to their higher learning that they don't have a space for love and romance and all, and the aspect of the inner child. And to me, again, this goes into caretaking. And I had to really advocate for myself and say, beyond who you believe the trap witch to be, whether she's this fierce, dark feminine, she's this guru to you, whatever. Like, there's an aspect in my personal life that is, and I hate using this word, but I'm very domestic. Like, I, I'm very much in the home, like cooking and like when I'm in love, like it's a different version of me. It's a different side of me, and one of the things that came up earlier this year for me and going into my 37th year, they told me it was my baby girl era spiritually. And I had just watched the movie Baby Girl. Have you watched Baby Girl?
No.
Well, for your listeners who are very like kink friendly, my Venus is in Pisces in the eighth, and my North Node is in Pisces in the eighth. We're like very like in Lilith and Leo, all these things.
Yeah, very hot signature, by the
Yeah,
way.
we're very
Like,
kinky over here. But understanding also the correlation between somatics and spirituality and kinks. And the movie is essentially about a high power CEO of a woman who has inner child issues that are showing up through her kinks and her desire to be seen, her desire to be protected, her desire to be safe, and not just in the ways that her husband can provide. And I think the most challenging aspect of watching the film is that, like, she doesn't have a terrible husband. She's got a good man, but she doesn't have a man who can fully hold her in her dark femininity. And that's why I always tell women, like, if you're a dark feminine, you really need to get to know yourself, because to be held in the way that you deserve, I've had good men and good men approach me all the time, but they still don't have the capacity to be that strong of a container. And so like when you think about, like, I just got the image in my head of like when you get takeout food, right? And you get that really dense, heavy, rich food, and imagine them putting it in the flimsiest of containers with good intentions, right? With good intentions, but you just can't hold me. So it becomes a mess. It becomes a hazard, right? And it also becomes unenjoyable. And so I think with like, even with just that Sagittarius, stellium, and those Leo, and like they can be conflicting, because even when for me, when I attract men, like I've talked about this too, like the performativeness of them approaching the guru with the romanticism and objectification of what they think that I desire in being seen. When I would say that, yes, there's aspects of that, but oh, that Leo energy goes really spicy and really hard, and so does that Pisces energy.
yeah. Well, okay. So about being really powerful, then having all this energy, and then being met and held, what does that look like? Like, what are the qualities of a container that's more solid?
I have just learned that it is a man that makes you do less. Like, turn my brain off, put me at ease, help me, like, don't send my nervous system into overdrive. Um, like we talked about earlier before, like a lot of men want mothers. They don't want a fellow spirit. They don't want a soulmate. They want either a porn star, they want a therapist, they want a mother. Um, and again, it's not to say that you can't give emotional support, you can't give nurturing, you can't give pleasure. But at what point does it become performative, and when does it become fucking exhausting? And I
Right.
think, again, it's that aspect of needing reciprocity. And also, if you're a woman who gives yourself a lot, I think this is why decentering men or decentering people first and finding yourself is really important, because if you know how much you have the capacity to give yourself, for me especially, I would say in those three aspects, like in mothering myself, in pleasuring myself, and also in healing myself, those three aspects, once I got to a certain level of that, I did not look outside of myself and externalize that in my relationships. So when you get to that point, you realize sometimes you're settling for crumbs to have that. instead of being in a healthy relationship that's an expander and a multiplier, and you're not just breaking even and barely skimming the surface to be full.
Wow. Yeah. And it's like we have to believe that it's possible. And I think there's so much messaging about just becoming smaller or more palatable or behaving better or like fawning or being nice. Like that can be some of the conditioning on the feminine of like, if you just are more palatable in a certain way, then you'll find a man that can hold you. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work if your soul is like this ocean wave. Like if you have a creativity and something moving through you that you cannot deny, but then you have this conflict of feeling like, yeah, there's no one out there. Or, I had a conflict for a while, maybe of just being maybe lonely or like my desire for connection being too strong that I would deal with like the crumbs basically until the crumbs started to piss me off and like awaken my anger and awaken my actual rage to be like, I don't want this anymore. And I had to really sit with myself and my solitude and find ways to resource myself and find my like temple priestess life where I'm like connecting with the ocean and doing practices and whatnot, and then starting to feel full in myself, and then this different reality materializing. But I think that it's like there is this threshold of like, I'm not going to settle for this dismal reality anymore just because it seems to be the thing that is the most apparently available. And that there will be people inside of that dismal reality that will fully support you settling for it. Like your soul won't, but the reality will allow it to.
See, I used to date for sport in my early 20s. Like, I used to use dating apps so toxically. Like, and if I'm fully transparent, and I've talked about this before, like, not only was I on dating apps, like, I was on sex sites before Tinder existed, because I've always been, in the kink community to some extent. Um, and the way that I was constantly seeking stimulation, because I was running from myself and I was running from my personal power and sitting alone with myself to find that. Like, I think about constantly, if I had have found myself and my purpose sooner, how much more energy I would have conserved. But I do believe in divine timing. And I do believe that sometimes I have to go through, or you have to go through these experiences to be a teacher, to be someone who helps others, not have to go through certain things. And it's perfect timing. So we can't beat ourselves up. But I had a conversation recently with a guy friend of mine from my gym, and he's on a dating app, and he was just talking about the anxiety of women like rushing him, like if he's not responding right now and not setting up the date by later this evening, like he's getting like unmatched very quickly, or there's this like pressure. And again, women have been hurt, yes, but he was telling me about all his experiences of like, there's women on there just looking for money. There's women on there like looking to be felt like they want to feel desirable. Like we can't neglect that dating makes you feel desirable. Like, okay, I can get dressed up and I could go have this nourishing food and I could have connection. But like, what does that look like? Not just dating. Why can't you like, and here goes my like Leo energy and my Libra moon, like, bitch, go get fucking dressed up for yourself. Like the past month, I've literally like probably worn a different wig to the gym every day just because I want to look cute for myself. I want to feel good. Get dressed if you want to get dressed. Go take yourself out. Go on dates with girlfriends. Like it doesn't always have to be the centering of men. Nourish yourself in good food. Like I remember on days that I was a sex worker, like after a good shift, like I would go to Outback Steakhouse and I would order two lobster tails and all of my favorite foods. And I would literally sit in my car. And this is like before mukbangs. You know what mukbangs are? Like where people eat in the car and all. Like this is before this became popular. I would just like be in the moment and I'd be like, how do you really feel about yourself just eating two lobster tails in your fucking car by yourself? Like, I'm like, this is like, I always had this quote that said, how you feel about yourself drinking cheap champagne in solitude says a lot more about yourself than drinking expensive champagne amongst a bunch of people that don't appreciate you. Like that came to me like in 2012, where it's like, where do you really feel rich within yourself? And I also had that experience in 2018. Like I was traveling from an event I had did in New York, and I was at the restaurant in the airport, and I had ordered this like $25 black bean burger, this like $10 Diet Coke, and I was like just sitting there eating by myself, and I really thought, I'm like, people are a constant passengers with us in our vehicle of life, but we're going to have a lot of times we're in transit, we're in seasons by ourselves, and you really need to get comfortable with how do you feel by yourself. And this is what shadow work is. Like so many of us are so unkind to ourselves in moments and seasons of solitude. And you brought up a great point. Like many people are lonely, not because that they're not deserving of connection, but they haven't met themselves. And my best friend asked me this one time a few years ago. She's like, do you really think you're ready for a relationship, or do you think you're just lonely? And that's a valid question.
I mean, I found so much frustration trying to find someone and realizing that the encounters was having were so disappointing and bringing me back to myself. And I just felt like I think that the reality is mirroring me. Like I need to know myself better. Like I'm being turned back in on myself. And I keep having, like, I'll have visionary states or deep body states in trance and have a vision and then meet someone the next day or a few days after who embodies something I saw in the vision. And I'm like, I have to go within to have the experiences that I'm really looking for. And I just think maybe the dating culture gets so toxic because of people escaping themselves or like looking for something that they don't have within and then just kind of ricocheting the emptiness off of each other.
And I think it's one of the things that's sad to me. I've had some conversations with some good men, actually. Like, I think they're quality good men. And I've been talking about this recently where it's like, I'm meeting a lot of like great men on paper. They're great catches, like, but there's a fatigue in them that I don't like. Um, and there's a saying that you need to catch a man when he's tired. That's usually when he's ready to settle, right? Or settle down. But there's two types of tired, and I think this is what I want to bring up. I think there's one who's like tired of performance and ready to get in touch with his soul and really be in that divine union with you and ready to birth that new life. And there's men who settle. But one of the things that this guy said, and this has been coming up, it's like he was so tired in his long-term relationship because he said that dating for men is not fun, and he proceeds to list like all the caretaking things that he had done as a masculine relationship, which are pretty basic. He was like, pay for her birth control, take care of her when she's drunk, make sure she walks on this side. Like it was very like, it was kind of like the fathering side of what women get tired from mothering. But I had to say to him, I'm like, in a relationship, you take care of each other. But it sounds like you were unequally yoked and you were doing a lot more caretaking. So his fatigue, his desire to please, his desire to protect, his desire to provide was disintegrating. And that lack of enthusiasm is a red flag for me. So I think that so many people um, are tired of the performance. I've had friends who have, chastised me, or because they want the best for me, they try to give me advice around what kind of dating I should be doing. And I just had this conversation with another woman. I've done the performative things, right? And women have the anxiety of being catered to, and you deserve to be catered to. But are you really looking for someone to meet your soul and your spirit and your healed self? Or are you just looking for that performance? And, like, this is what came up too, is like those dopamine hits, like, okay, yeah, good morning texts and your purity and feeling desired. Like, that's why you really still have to get in touch with yourself. Like, I recently had a guy who was interested in me, and like by the fourth good morning text, I was annoyed because I realized it was repetition, it was performance, it was it was kind, but I didn't need the dopamine hit. So instead, I'm getting irritated and I'm getting annoyed because I've been here before. And I'm at that place that I don't need all of that. Even recently, I recognized like I don't need the hey beautiful. I don't need that you're pretty. Those things are nice. But when you realize your soul isn't pulling for it to be desired anymore because you don't care about being objectified, you don't need those kind of crumbs in order to feel good about yourself. I just think that your dating experiences just change.
Yeah, it makes me think of just continually wanting a deeper, more expansive experience. Like, after types of fulfillment, I feel like the feminine naturally just wants more. Like, she wants to keep traveling deeper and like expanding into the spiritual mystery. And I think that becomes an invitation too. I think that maybe women can really be missing inside of this whole abysmal or like uninspiring dating culture, that actually like deepening into our own mysticism and eroticism, and in a way that's really in integrity, that it's like, yeah, we're like in our practice, in our devotion, that it inspires men. Like there is an aliveness to it. And I think that just not doing that and kind of expecting or like feeling entitled, like entitlement on either side is super unattractive. It's like we yeah.
You just dropped a download to inspire, right? I had this brief conversation with a sister because, like, it's nothing for a man or people in general to be intrigued with me. But there's a difference between intrigue and truly inspired and putting that inspiration into integration, right? So I think those are three great eyes to look at. Okay, are you just intrigued? Are you inspired? Or do you want to really integrate this? Because those are the levels. Be intrigued, but be inspired and then integrate, you know? And my friend, I remember because I've just heard it so many times. I'm just intrigued with you. I'm just intrigued. And so my friend, she responded one day. She's like, "Yeah, you and 100,000 other like cocksuckers. Like, get in line. Like, you know." So it's one of those things where the inquiry, the intrigue is cool, but a lot of times when people come knocking, especially knocking on the oracle's door, they are intrigued. But if you're someone, you're a mystic, I'm a mystic, like we're healer women, it's nothing for people to knock on the door. Are you going to answer? Are you going to integrate? Are you going to leave there with the magic? And what are you going to do with it? And again, it's like, how do you take all of these modalities and these things and you become the mystic? So again, like as a mystical woman, like it's nothing for you to be fucking intrigued with magic. Like magic, everybody's intrigued with magic for the most part, but not everybody can handle the responsibility of the knowledge of magic.
Yeah, I want to speak to also protection, and something that I saw you like downloading things about at a time that was just like really interweaving with a process I was having. And yeah, you had really impacted me from afar with it, of just like, and I think it's connected to being like a healer, a mystic, right? It's like you're very porous and soft and open as a healer woman. And the energy that it gives off can be serene, it can be sweet. Like I just taken in so much messaging around kind of being as sweet as possible. And it's like that is part of I'm a very sweet, devotional kind of lover. Like that is true in some sense. But I had to learn how to protect it and experience basically what it looks like to be protected and provided for by a man versus where that clearly wasn't happening, and develop that discernment, and even develop my own inner masculine to basically have real standards and boundaries, and not to make excuses or bend, seeing the best in people or having like a gushy, like soft spot for someone who hadn't really actually earned that level of connection with me, and having to just like really cut uh yeah, that kind of access point that I was so used to kind of having an availability for, and the grief that came with like, if I'm just this open and sweet in the world, I'm getting eaten alive. Like, it's like you have to and so just like recognizing and it's like there is such a strong desire to be protected, to be in your softness, and also, yeah, that, and I've heard you speak to this as well, just like that you have to be able to protect yourself, but you want someone that you don't have to protect yourself from, or someone that you feel really safe with. And I think that that's changing in culture now. Like in the past, I think there was just more of like a financial survival thing that was happening in relationship structures. And for mystical women, there's like a recognition, being able to see a woman's heart and actually like respect and understand her magic at a deeper level as a form of protection. Like for me, like people that don't believe what I'm about, like what I'm up to, and treat it like something cute and quirky, I don't feel protected by that. I feel degraded and dismissed and made a joke out of. And it's like, that's fine, but I don't want that up close. Like, that's not someone that I can really feel open with and melt inside of and really want to be held by if they think that what I'm into is a joke. And it's just interesting to see how, like, I saw that so normalized, like, not necessarily among other practitioners, but just the astrology girlies in the world, for example, whose boyfriends like make fun of it in front of them. And I'm like, I could never deal with that. But for a moment, I thought that that's all that there was in some sense. And it created this deep loneliness of like, I would rather be alone and protect myself. But obviously, that's not the deepest desire of my heart. I really do. I need and want. And there's even something magnetic about that desire for a protector and the way that it does call forth healthy masculine or masculine that wants to provide in that way. But there's this path of choosing that you really want that.
Whew, you just dropped some gems that I'm gonna interweave something into. I was trying to remember the points. So, firstly, there's a great quote that I've posted many times that says, "Never be too sweet that the ants eat you." This was given to me in a reading through my religious practice. For those who might not know, I practice Santeria. I'm initiated into that practice, West African practice. Although I don't lead with that as like my forward facing because it's again, all the magic is integrative and it's prescriptive. But one of the messages I got around being, an extremely empathetic woman is don't be so sweet that the ants eat you. And that's about preservation. Because again, we should gatekeep our sweetness. And recently in dating more dark masculines, because like I said, I'm very much at a point where I realize I need a man who's very in touch with his shadow and is integrating it and is a real protector. I've met a lot of men who say, if I say to them, "Oh, you're so nice," they're like, "No, I'm not nice. I'm kind." And there's I think it was a Megan Thee Stallion song too. She's like, oh no, it's JT from City Girls. She's like, "I'm not friendly. I don't fuck with you bitches." And this was something I had to really start saying out loud to heal my inner child and to heal my virtue signaling programming as a healer and what I'm here to do. Like there's times where I had to remember like, bitch, you're the fucking trap witch. Like why did spirit give you this name? Why did spirit give you certain activations? Why are you apologizing for needing to protect yourself when you named yourself the fucking trap witch? Like my spiritual awakening was like inspired by gangsters, drug dealers, and like strippers. Like survival. My spiritual awakening was when I was a sex worker. I was listening to the fucking trap music. I was watching narco telenovelas about Griselda Blanco and Pablo Escobar. And I had a moment where I was like, I'm so fucking tired of being a good girl. Like, this shit is getting me nowhere. But that was my shadow of my higher self calling me to embody the dark feminine, to be who I was always born to be. I'm literally a woman here to be a fully embodied empath that knows how to protect herself, as many other empaths need to learn how to do, because it's not a weakness, it's not a crutch, it's not a disability, it's a superpower. And to speak to what you said about people getting in tune with your magic, I had to download a vision. You know that saying, it says, "Let me pet that dog." Like, people love dog. Let me pet that dog. I heard, "Let me pet that dragon," right? Like the mystic woman who's powerful, who's ferocious, who's many of these things. Like it makes me think about those movies where like in order to tame a dragon, it's not really you're taming a dragon because a dragon has the capacity to really fuck you up. But the dragon also needs someone who's in tune with their magic and respects both their ability to allow you in their space, but also be able to crush you. And so I don't know why I saw that, like, treating myself as the dragon, and at times where I have felt fiercely unprotected. It's like that Nicki Minaj song Roman's Revenge. I don't know if you've ever heard it, where like Roman is her like unhinged, very masculine, dark personality, and she quotes like Buster Rhymes, like raw raw like a dungeon dragon, and it's like at my most unprotected and where people want to cage me in and not present, I feel like that large dragon that's been stuffed down into those cages and those cellars with the chains that it just wants to break free. And so I think what's really important is that as a mystic woman, right? And we many of us are ferocious. We're just stuck in victim. Like when I was an empath who was like very victimized, like I always say, like I thought I was a guppy. I treated myself like I was a guppy when I'm like a fucking crocodile, I'm a kraken, I'm an anaconda. But I'm afraid of I was afraid of the shadow aspect. That I would limit myself to being a guppy so I could stay in victim. And so one of the things that happened recently, because we're talking about protection, I'm bringing it all together, protection. I met a really great guy, and you're talking about how men make fun. Like I met someone who like I'm a horror buff. Like I've never met a man that's watched just as much horror as me, if not more. Like we watch paranormal, like as dark as I can go, we can go dark. But we had a moment where, because of my human woman self that has been hurt and has been betrayed, although he provided so much safety to me in my body, how he performed, I still had a bit of a self-sabotaging moment that brought up conflict. And we got into a, I would say, a difference of opinions, right? Because it was both of our shadow selves meeting each other, both sides of ourselves that have been betrayed and mistrusted. And he said something to me, and I had to sit with it. He said to me, if you're such a woman who's in touch with the universe and spirit, how come spirit didn't tell you I'm a good person? I was like, okay, that's a bit of a dig, but that's also very like, I'm gonna sit with that. And I had to be realized that because I'm still a fucking human woman. And even in being a mystic woman, like we've gone through trauma, chronic overthinking, like how many women I know who are mystic women who will pull 100 cards a day on the same situation? Because it's hard to be in that void. It's hard to be in that space of stepping into moving away from that trauma. And so it's one of those things where sometimes, like, yes, there's lots of men who will shit on your practice. And first of all, I don't fuck with those men. In that situation I had recently, I didn't feel he was shitting on my practice. I think that was his weird, warped, twisted way of saying, like, I wanted to take care of you and I wanted you to feel safe. But, you have a trauma that brought this up, and I'm going to confront you about it. But a lot of men's confrontation, especially men who are deeply integrated with the dark side of the patriarchy, their resistance to healing, their resistance to magic, is their resistance to themselves and meeting themselves on a higher timeline. But also, and listen, I'm not gonna tell the truth. I've met a lot of men recently that are traumatized by women that are using the practices to enable their bullshit, and they are terrorizing these men. So,
I'm sure of it. I'm like literally like, I hate it because there's so many people, like even just people that don't actually know astrology very well, or even people who do know it well but misuse it and bring it into dating in the most annoying ways. I'm like, I'm not doing that, but I know you've probably been through some. And it's also, yeah, when people use spiritual stuff to manipulate people that they're in close connection with, like that is some
and I
gnarly,
listen,
yeah.
we're gonna go full on. I've done that. I've done that. Oh, it's between AI, between cards, between all the shit, like We have the tools to literally manipulate and make ourselves these perfect people. But again, right, like really wanting intimacy and connection, like who are you when you are just face to face, spirit to spirit with someone? And you're moving from that to really integrate, because again, we have all these tools, but when you actually want to get to the embodiment of creating safety within a container with another person, like that's when your embodiment practice and your shadow work really gets puts into the arena.
Yeah, I think it's attractive when people have boundaries with this. I feel like, like the way you were describing that story, like it sounds like a moment of just being met inside of being triggered and activated. Like it didn't sound like he was shut down, but kind of said something that was piercing. And I don't know, that sounded kind of hot to me.
And for the astrology girlies, he's Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Moon, Mercury, and Capricorn. So, but a Libra
Nice.
stellium. So it's kind of like, oh God. But like, I was like, you know what? Touche, valid point. You're right. I was like, I didn't fight him. I was like, you are right. You are right. My
Yeah.
bad. But give me some grace also that I'm still learning.
I've encountered someone, yeah, someone that I'm seeing who he doesn't really get very reactive. He's never been defensive when I've been upset. And it is so interesting to receive that. Because I think just him not playing into the reactivity or defensiveness is very disarming. And then I'm like, whoa, like that, like the emotion, the wave gets to happen and he didn't invalidate it. He didn't get involved in it in a way that he didn't have to. He didn't make me feel any kind of way about it. He just let it be. And that's been amazing to, yeah, receive that. Uh,
The last two people I've been in container with, this is what I'm learning to say. I've been in container with, I've been in sacred space with, right? I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, I don't like the words talking to, like, because
container, yeah.
I've been really attracting, karmic people, past life lovers, and friendships, and all these things that are really teaching me. And I had to really, guys, see how it's like coming up in my throat? I got a throat bubble when I said it. I don't like to say the words humble anymore because of certain things. Women, like, I don't want us to call ourselves humble. We have to be, no. But it was still an aspect that presented me humility, is that some of the best teachers for me in the recent, again, past 2 years, because they said dark masculines are the ones that are going to be for me, is that some men that I think are not as spiritually evolved as me, or not on my level as far as their understanding of the modalities, they have been some of the best teachers. And, I've never been in a space where I've been able to have so much of a voice. That's come through lots of embodiment practice and the work that I do. But getting to a place where I'm no longer afraid of conflict, healthy conflict. One of the last guys, I was in container with in the past 2 years, like he was a Virgo, and I was like, damn, like Virgos and Aquariuses, like we get each other. But what I really enjoyed was like he helped me get to a point where I owned my voice so much, because we would healthily debate constantly and we would not agree. But although we would not agree, he would never degrade me, he would never disrespect me, and I would not do the same. I would do the same thing for him. Like we just would not go there. So even in this past situation where this guy is like telling me, you know, the universe, and what does it mean to stand in my power and still be soft enough? Not even to like just give someone else grace, but give myself grace, because like so many women, we are so reactive. It is so fucking draining. It is so draining. It is so dysregulating to our nervous system. Like, what does it mean for us to be sovereign? I went on a podcast in 2023 and I like pretty much was put in the ring with an incel. And the whole experience was to integrate my sovereignty of being soft and being sovereign, where like I would answer his questions, but I would not get reactive to him degrading me or shutting me down or trying to discredit anything that I said. So I think it's really like getting to that mastery where like you own your voice again, you own your sexuality and all these aspects. Like this is where we're headed as women. Like we deserve softness from our men who are protectors, providers, pleasers, but we also have to cater to that for ourselves. Like, oh, okay, this situation is not pleasing me, I will please myself. This situation is not protecting me, I will protect myself. Okay, this is not provide, I will provide for myself because sometimes, even in these conflicts, it's just easy to shut down instead of providing ourselves what we need.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
This has been so powerful so far. This has like been one of my favorite podcasts I've done.
Oh,
But again, right, I think it just speaks to where I'm at right now. I'm like, oh, this is so lush.
I mean, I love like I haven't been following you for that long, but ever since I was, it's like it's been uh like you're Aquarius, yeah. But I feel like there's like this revolutionary feeling in what you've been writing that has like had this like pulse that has opened something. Like it's been really like I love seeing you explore love and like share what your desires are and like have that space to just share that freely. Like Anais Nin is one of my favorite authors and just that she's like this erotic writer and like to be in that dream of what you're desiring and sharing those kind of wins of like the dream materializing and also speaking to the challenges along the way in a really honest way. Like,
We have to affirm those things out loud, literally, because some of us are rewriting history right now. Like, we are rewriting the book for the feminine. Like, there's been so many things that have been scrubbed from history that women are deserving of everything. And even maybe 2 nights ago, I asked ChatGPT, I was like, can you recommend some movies that are about warrior women who get their love in the end? The shit that they recommended wasn't even in alignment. I was like, what the fuck? Like, where are the love stories where the warrior woman gets that like fairy tale love? Like, what? They're very far and few in between. So why are we not always fed like unless you go searching for it? Like for me, I feel like Belle from Beauty and the Beast, like I've been watching that a lot again recently. Like Belle was revolutionary. Like she was like, did you ever watch Beauty and the Beast?
yeah.
Well, she's like, like Gaston like objectified her. You're gonna be my cute little wife, and you're gonna, bear me some children, and da 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 da. He objectified her, but he did not respect her for her brain. He did not respect her for her strength, any of these things. And what was just really amazing about that was like in that sense, she was very revolutionary and a warrior priestess of her own. And she's like, let me go here, but like Beast was the dark masculine and she met him through inspiring like the whole tale. So like I was watching that a lot recently because I was like, oh, this is one of those.
I use Beauty and the Beast a lot as a Venus Pluto, or it could be Venus in the eighth house
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
I literally had to sit with myself recently and really go on that deep dive of like, why are these stories more appealing to me than certain other ones?
Well, it's like being so deeply met. Like I've been really like deconditioning myself. Like I feel like there is a lot of programming and messaging on the internet. Like it's a social media thing too, of just like people have their different messages that they're putting out there. But someone wrote that like if you're a woman and you share too much of your heart, like too much on the internet, that a masculine man won't claim you for himself because you're already too diffuse out there and like you're claimed by too many already. And that just set me off because I realized that I was actually holding back my creative expression from the world, not because I'm afraid of being like criticized or canceled or anything. It's like this fear that I'm making myself like unwifeable by being too much and on the internet and just being like, why do I hold that? Like this kind of fear about, and that message has always been everywhere. It's in like The Great Gatsby, like one of the characters has a daughter and she's like, I hope that you're stupid. Like, I hope you grow up stupid and clueless because that's how you'll get married. Like, or just that kind of like, if you're just basic enough, then you're going to be okay in life. But if you are too expressive, too much in some way, you're limiting your opportunities in life. And I just feel like that's so dulling. It's like if you have an oracle expressive nature and you're trying to have these breakthroughs and become like your highest or your deepest version of yourself, like you're trying to really be here in this life, and you're like already minimizing it in advance just to be like chosen. Like it just seems like something is glitching there. And it's like, why would I want to put myself in a relationship that I had to like make myself a certain way to fit into?
Mhm. I wrote a post recently, either it was a video or a post. I don't remember which one it was because I post so damn much, but it was essentially talking about how like everybody wants to be told what to do so that they can embody an archetype so that it's easy for them. And we're oh my God, we were never supposed to hear the insides of this many people's brains. Like the internet is both like beautiful because that's how we met, right? That's I feel it's a beautiful thread that connects us, but like it could be information overload. And if you're going through an awakening or you're looking to find yourself, even if you're trying to better help with yourself, it is such a dangerous place because so many people sometimes are not applying the applied wisdom for their journey. That's why with the work that I do with people, I always tell them like, listen, be inspired, take things from my page, but if you ever sit down with me, I'm never going to project onto you what's for your journey because it's your journey. And what's milk and honey for me might be poison to you. You know, someone asked me recently the other day, forget what it was about, but you know, certain women, we take longer to marry because we have different callings, right? Like some people aren't sharing themselves. Like I remember my last relationship when we broke up. He cheated. We'll be transparent. He cheated on me with his boss. He impregnated her right before the end of our relationship. I found out about all these things. They had a shotgun one. And eventually, when I was sharing my story of being mentally, emotionally, spiritually abused, you know, gaslit, betrayed, all these things on my platform, because I've always been transparent, I was stalked by him and her, and then threatened via email that they were going to escalate it to potential legality, although it was not name calling, not, you know, like not, but because of the guiltiness, right? And also their fascination with me, although they had hurt me, they got everything they wanted, but they still, you know, anyway. One of the things that she said to me in her nasty email to me, although she just like they just did me so dirty, right? She goes, um, and you called me basic, and I'm not basic. I'm not a woman that just sits online and talks to the internet all day looking for validation and this and that. And you know, immediately I knew it was a projection. I was like, bitch, I've watched you back. And if you could do what I do, you would do it because you try and you don't. But I say this to say, I felt no type of way eventually when I eventually started really healing myself away from that because she got all that she wanted at that level. She got her husband, she got the child, she got all of these things. But some people, and this is not to disrespect, some people's path will never be my path. And for I say this for some women who we share ourselves because we feed nations. And this is not some ego shit. You really have to understand. I said this to one of my sisters the other day. Some of us as women who share ourselves the way we share ourselves, we have a whole city on our fucking back. We have a whole country on our back.
I want to hear about this because, yeah.
I'm getting chills as I say it because you don't understand. Like, people say to me, "Oh, it's just the internet." No, it's not. This is rewriting history right now for those of us who are really about this life. And that's why I take these things so seriously. Like 100, like I have 167,000 followers, I think, 157 or something. Like I remember the days I was crying on the ground by myself as a woman because I just did not know how I was going to bring myself together. To now, women being like, oh my God, I left this relationship because of you. I did this. I did. Like, a lot of us are feminines activating other leaders. My most prideful work as, and that's how we met. You're a leader of your own accord. You are a queen of your queendom. We are all allying together to support each other, to change a generation, to be in revolution. So anybody that ever tells me that I shouldn't share myself the way that I share myself because I'm too porous, fuck you. I'm not too porous. I'm not too exposed. I am literally feeding a nation and building a nation on my back of new age women that are going to change this world. So nobody can tell me about that. And I know, and I just know this because I believe and have seen the testimony of law of attraction. There's so many women that I admired as a child in arts, in media, that full circle that follow me now. To me, that's like the manifestation of the potency of the inner child and imagination, and like full circle. And I remember saying
Ooh,
to one of the artists that
chills.
inspired me, I was like, you don't understand, like when I was a little girl I wanted to be you, like you inspired me so much. And she was like, and thank you for your work. So when people, here's my thing, because on the flip side of that, the most recent container and space that I've been in with a man, he's, I mean, unless he has like saw it without telling me, like he doesn't know about my Instagram. We met in the street. Like we met in the street in a shared space, and he observed me for months before approaching me. So intuitive to be, and just able to read me in ways that are very deeply unspoken. But the beauty of it, which was also challenging, it has really challenged my ego with who I built around the trap witch. Because although he loves aspects of the trap witch, I know he does, he's been sent more for the aspect of what I've been calling in. Who protects baby girl? Who loves the heart of a woman? But who also can respect the trap witch. So when we have gotten into conflict and the trap witch comes out, because parts of him were attracted to the trap witch, because when he was observing and saw this strong woman doing, he was attracted to the essence of that. But can you respect the embodiment of that? Because although you provide certain things, the trap witch, if we decide to make this a full-blown divine union, the trap witch is coming with us, and she's going to be living with us. And you have to support her as she goes into the world and she continues to feed nations and build nations. So I don't think that's great advice. And I think you should be a little upset with that, because not every woman is going to be in a position where she can take that advice and it's applicable. And again, I'm trying to get in the habit, because again, it was a trauma response where my ex and his new wife, I called her all types of basic bitches. I did. And a part of that was hurt, but a part of it is true. I don't think she'll ever be in my position. So the disconnect is us trying to pull each other down because it's a miscommunication, misunderstanding that that man was not for me in the long term. That's her forever. That's her ceiling, or that might be her peak. Excuse me, I'm not gonna say ceiling. We're not gonna use that verb. That might be her peak, but baby, my peak is much higher. So I don't believe that we should, I guess, and us too, like the mystery, be mysterious. Like, as an Aquarius, and I think you know this about Aquarius, like, don't ever think you fucking know me. Because the moment you think you fucking know me, you got me fucked up. I did that, I had a client turn into a stalker in recent months, and I think she thought it was going to be played the way that it was going to be played, and I had to hit that T.I. song, You Don't Know Me. When you see me in these streets, you don't know me. So be safe, and like, find you something safe to do. Because just because you were not able to integrate the care that I gave you doesn't mean I won't go upside your head if you threaten my life.
I love all of this. I like think this was kind of like a divine moment for me, like just hearing your take on not listening to that kind of advice. Because I guess I don't talk that often, I guess, to people. I mean, they are my peers in some sense, but like kind of this topic of being a woman who's super out there on the internet in certain ways, and just the kind of intersection that that creates with dating or like being a certain type of woman. um and that like I don't choose this or something. Like I do back it, I choose it fully, but this is my nature. I had an online profile when I was 11 years old. I had friends, I had a following all over the world, about 12 and 13, and people were like donating to animal rights charities because of me and stuff. Like I had my friends, I was on this like writing community. But it's like that was my nature. That began. And it's still like those people, I'm not in touch with any of them, but it's like I spent hours coming home from school, learning how to write, getting feedback about my writing from these mentors all over the world. And now I have an audience because of my writing and my speaking and whatnot. And it's like, this makes me feel super alive and just kind of breaking up with the construct in my mind. And whoever wants to validate that construct, because some people will, that I'm somehow, I don't know, damning my prospects in life, that I'm like revealing too much of my heart, revealing too much of my eros, like revealing too much of myself or something. And it's like I've made so many amazing connections. Like there has been an impact.
See,
And yeah, this is
I see there's two things that I get from that is that people assume that sometimes people just want validation, and also people assume that what was the other one I was going to say? That it's just for you. Recently when I really got heavily back into my eros because spirit was like you got to go heavily in the sexuality, not just on the spiritual level, because I've worked long to really teach women that, but like now you're getting back to the flesh and the embodiment also too, because that's a part of that's part of the body work too. I started getting, some negative feedback and projections, and I had to tell people, yes, some of this is for me because I need this embodiment to be able to do what I do. But some of this is not for me. This is for a nation of women. So when people like, I talked about this last night on my stories, like as a child, I was more embodied in my confidence and personality before it was, interrupted. And I was okay with attention. I'm still coming back into being okay with attention again. I know as a Leo rising and a Lilith and Leo, that sounds crazy, but I'm still, we were talking about empathy and boundaries earlier. Like yesterday, I got into some of my glamour magic. I love wigs and I put on this wig. And yesterday, I'm like, I have to sit with this. Like that wig pulled so much energy to me. So I ended up having a lot of these like really profoundly beautiful, deep conversations with women in random places. Like we're talking like I literally ended up being at the gym an extra 2 hours yesterday because women just would stop me and then it would like because I am porous, I am, and but what I realize is that it's like I have to have those boundaries because I end up I've masked so much throughout my life and I find myself still doing that at times. Oh my gosh. I hate to like interrupt us like this. You should see this most we just got the most beautiful omen. I have to like take a picture of it while we're talking. There's literally two giant green caterpillars mating on this limb outside our window as we're talking. And I just think it's hilarious because like I truly believe in the omens. So like I like looked and I was like, why is the branch moving like that? But it's two, it looks like two green ones that might turn into moths or something. So I'm gonna take a picture of them from afar. I might not get a good one, but at least it'll remind me to go back out there when we're done to go see if I could get a better one. I'm like, because that's an omen. We have to look that up. Um, but yeah, like I just think that again, people need to recognize that certain people are here to share themselves in different ways. My human design literally says I have to share my personal process in order to ascend into my purpose. So sometimes I have to be the one who's vulnerable about my personal process first in order to help other people. And that's caused people to call me vain, attention seeking. I don't know how to have privacy. I've been told everything about myself.
It's a lot of projection.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. So, I think there's a balance. I think there's a balance of what we choose to share, what we're divinely inspired to share, and how we put boundaries of protection around that.
It's such a Leo thing. I feel like actually, like, I mean, this expression, this like sharing of oneself, sharing of one's heart. But I think also like the kind of concept of heavy as the crown. And like when you see someone who's like confident, shares themselves in this way, like has created all this, like they've taken on initiations.
Mhm.
Like creation works you. Creation really works you, but also the way that the reality and people respond, that is a lot of energy, like aggressive energy to receive too. And to then keep choosing the art, keep choosing the expression. It's like this kind of like, yeah, crown has some initiations attached to it with Leo because it's like people love the expression, but they also hate on it.
Yeah, I just made a great post for Leo season a few days ago, literally about all of this because I a few years ago, because again, I at times as a person who like was once confident as a child and then told to sit down, be quiet, trauma, all these things, and just constantly getting back to fully embodying. Again, not just for me, it's like it's for a nation of women. I just keep saying like I have to take accountability for how I show up in embody because there's too much
No,
that
you post so much that is like such a turn on. Like I feel like your like erotic memes, like your erotic mind is so fucking inspiring. I love it. And then I remember you posting, it was just like a picture of you in lingerie and you were like, "No, this isn't for the men. This is for the women." Like, yeah, like
I was a sex worker for 5 years from 2012 to 2017. I did erotic massage. Um, and before that, I was a promiscuous woman. But this is the first time in my whole life. This is the first time in my whole life, not as a sex worker, not as a woman who centered men. This is the first time I'm loving my body out loud and not at her, not even where she feels her best. I'm not at the necessarily goal weight I feel best at. I have certain pains that come up in my body. I was talking about this last night, like literally, like masking when I know I'm over masking, it creates physical pain in my body. So it's one of those things too where as a healer, as a leader, as there's a lot of people that don't want to see me love my body, enjoy being in it. I did a post a few years ago, I think it was like 2019. I was in the gym and I was in pain, and I was learning. This is when I was starting to like get back into more yin energy because I used to use a lot of yang energy to mask, to get stronger, but to hide the pain and the anger, and I was breaking my body down. So I'm like been moving more into yin, and I had the download that said this body has spent many lifetimes as the warrior, the healer, and the whore, and all the objectified versions that were literally for everybody else to enjoy. This lifetime is for me to also get some enjoyment, even if I am still embodying those archetypes.
oof.
So yes, my Eros, my whore, my sacred whore, I get to enjoy her too. My healer, I get to enjoy her too. My warrior, like I get to enjoy all of them, and you don't get to tell me how I get to enjoy her on my terms. So if I'm raging, let me rage so I can still rage for you. Let me please myself so I can still please you. Let me heal myself so I can still heal you. And again, as a integrated empath that's here to really advocate for us, it's to advocate for our shadow side to exist too. Like I advocate for healer, like healers deserve to, I deserve to get cash fucking money. I was told a few months ago that because I can afford a gym membership, I should be ashamed of myself because women who were activists of the past struggled. And I told that bitch to go fuck herself. because you, again, I'm not a martyr. I'm not the fucking help. Like, Jesus died for your sins, bitch. I'm not going to. Like, no. So I think it's really important, for women to understand, like, there's so much of ourselves that we've been told to compartmentalize, to put away, and then also not to enjoy for ourselves first. Like, I enjoy kinky shit real bad. Like, I enjoy it.
This is such a transmission. Honestly, like when I see your content and like when you're celebrating something that is going well, I'm just like, hell yes. Like I really want to see you win. Like I am so grateful for what you've created and shared and also like the courage of your transmission over and over again, like how it's impacted me. Um yeah, and seeing you just like continue to choose like to enjoy, even with that kind of like resistance or turbulence, like that is a powerful, like that's what Leo is about, I feel like.
And I'm a first house, remember, I'm a Lilith and Leo that sits on top of my rising. So my Lilith is 1 degree on my rising. So it's like,
But yeah, and it's important, I think, this message too of like women enjoying, like women being in their pleasure, like women enjoying themselves. Like there is a whole magic portal birthing that is happening through that. And I feel like this idea of like goodness through self-sacrifice.
and my shadow confronted me so much at the end of that relationship uncoupling in 2022. My shadow just like, I was having nightmares where I was having these weird dreams, and when I decipher them, my shadow was like, we're mad at you. I would do shrooms and my shadow would be like, more. A Virgo South Node in the second house. A lot of those Virgo tendencies of judging other people because I'm afraid to be judged was holding back my authentic expression. And the truth of the matter is, and I've had to really, again, come to terms with this, I'm very dark and I enjoy being very dark. But there's parts that are connected to, again, the being a embodied woman, being a healer, being these things, like these virtue signals of what we shouldn't be. There's times where people on the internet have said some cruel things to me. Women that knew me were in container with me, cruelty, like, and people expect you to just sit down and like suffer in silence about that. So even when I talk about certain things, like if I share, I don't always go back and forth with people, but sometimes I share how I deal with situations so another woman can see how I embody to deal with it. But, oh, that's so beneath you. Why did you engage it? Why? Because if I don't, my inner child is literally going to be sitting in here festering because she didn't get to say anything because that was one of her things. She's been silent. She has to mask, right? I could talk about it with my friends. Okay, cool. Yeah, sometimes I do something, but sometimes just to let that rage exist out open. Again, let the dragon be the fucking dragon. Stop trying to tame the dragon, And one of my most fulfilling, I think, manifestations and visions to see, I've always been really, really adamant about not code switching as a healer and like not being performative. Like people are like, oh, why do you curse so much? And why don't you talk properly? And why don't you do this? And what? There's this woman in Congress named Jasmine Crockett. And last year or the year before, like this woman who's also in Congress, like covertly microaggressed her in such a just nasty way. And she read her down for filth and it went viral. It was something so small. It was like about her appearance, like her eyelashes and her wig. And she was trying to discredit her based on her appearance and also being a black woman, that she's not intelligent enough to do her job when really, truly, the other lady's not really intelligent enough to do her job. So she took that moment to so eloquently like read that bitch down. And I'm like, that is what you call embodied divine feminine sacred rage. I'm like, this is what it's about. And I felt so validated seeing her do that because I'm like, this is a woman in Congress. And this is what we're moving into. Seeing that moment made me feel like all the work that I've been doing hasn't been wrong because that's where we are headed and I've been ahead.
Yeah, it's such a powerful and such an exiled quality in the feminine. It's like it's a slayer. Like that is some like ego killing, like illusion killing, like a arrow dart into someone. And that is a power of the feminine. And then yeah, like sharing that and having people be like, you shouldn't talk that way. Like,
It just makes you think like again with the internet, we're living in a time where it's beautiful to connect, but people are that much more ruthless because they can hide. And they feel like they'll never fully be confronted by you. It's like when I think about, let's say, like someone like Lizzo, right? Getting attacked for your body daily like that, like, and then expecting not to say anything back at some point. And you can say to her, like, just be confident, girl. Just be. She was being confident as a big girl, and this when you see the like the cesspool of vileness because people are just so unkind and unhappy with themselves, and because they think because they can, they should, and there's no consequences for it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the consequence is when you're a miserable sack of shit to yourself and other people, the only person that's going to feel it in the end is you because it's an escapism. So many people, especially, I've never seen, and I've talked about this, I've never been in a time where I've seen so many men on the internet bullying women. And I always say my biggest fear for a woman is to wake up beside a man who's doing that to a woman on the internet. Like he should be fucking ashamed of himself and like you should like drag him outside to be stoned if that's the type of husband that you have. Like I find it repulsive. But it's
yeah,
because they want
but
attention, they want to be seen. They want to be seen. I've never been so poked at and prodded at in weird ways, but it's like, oh, your little boy wants to be seen. But guess what? Your little boy doesn't come over here acting crazy with me without being put in his place.
yeah, I love this point on just like receiving all of this vitriol and then being expected to just be quiet about it or something, or like, oh, just take it in stride. Like, yeah, there is like an alchemy in the standing up for oneself. And also, it's like you can choose the battle or not.
And sometimes, like with especially with my darkness, like I'm like it needs to like let off. I've been told in many readings that like if you don't let your darkness let off just a little bit of steam like this, like she will explode. She will go Mount Etna. She will go Krakatoa. She will finish this shit. It was like yesterday morning. I just
They're
felt like,
just like bringing themselves for sacrifice. There's just all these like unconscious,
but the problem
unconscious people.
problem is, and this is a great time to talk about this, is that we're seeing a lot more women crash out right now. And just because someone brings themselves for sacrifice doesn't mean you should sacrifice yourself too. Because I do want to bring a seriousness to it. It's like women are crashing out, and it's not cute because it's shorting yourself of a life better lived, and living well is the best revenge. It's one of my favorite quotes. Living well
Yeah.
is one of the best revenge. But where you can healthy let that steam off. Yesterday, I had left a comment like on a page about a documentary. It was a spiritual documentary. Here comes some fucking nobody's son, leaves me a comment that nobody cares. Da 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 da. And I said,
Yeah.
and I said, you cared because your aura is so weak. It came to feed on mine, and come on, latch on my titty. Boy, go drink some fucking milk. Like again, I see it for what it is. You want attention
You
because
want
your aura is
energy.
weak. Yeah, you want energy, and that's
Yeah.
people who are
You know,
vampires are weak because their aura is weak. Vampires have to drink to revitalize themselves and their life force.
I don't engage directly with a lot of these things. Sometimes it will just, if it gives me fire and heat, I'll turn that into passion for something else, passion for another teaching, like passion for slaying a pattern in a teaching or something like that. And sometimes I engage and it does feel good. Like, there is just like the ability, it's a very Leo quality, I think, too. There's like a cat and mouse kind of banter, like,
Lilith and Leo likes to stir up the drama sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah, they're like I've read that where it's like we want to remember we're alive, so it's like, oh, we can fight. It's I think the best way to say it is like to really be in like that art of shade or just it's like sharp, it's the sharpening of the claws, you know, like after a lion's done like just laying like, oh, let me sharpen my claws and make sure it's like Scar in Lion King. I just saw him where he's like, let me just make sure I still got it.
yeah. I did, I'm choosing, I have some ways that I'm just withdrawing my energy now instead of, but I did, yeah, rage. I had like a full on, like, throw some stuff out the dumpster, make a video, send it as a text, we'll never talk again kind of situation. And that changed my life. I needed that. That's also like the karma or like the kind of intersection of meeting a person that would trigger that much pain. Like there was definitely some kind of thread there. That was more of a container, if you will, um, than just a rando on the internet. But it was just like, I benefited from it at the end of the day, what it brought out in me.
I love it. Sometimes, again, like conflict management, where it's like the level of importance. Like if you look at a conflict management graph, it'll say like importance of the relationship. So how much, energy you give to collaboration, right? Because really you don't owe people that you don't fucking know anything, really. It's like it's a lower level importance tier. But you still want to do your best to meet people with kindness and compassion. You want to do unto others. You really do. But, I try to tell people all the time, even if I troll you back or even if I drag you, I'm still leaving you better than I found you. Because even I made a post a few years ago that says enlightenment. Like the part of enlightenment for me, like I will either light you up or I will light you up, but either way, I will leave you enlightened.
And speaking of leaving people enlightened, do you want to share anything about your offerings, how people can work with you?
Well, if you need any assistance around shadow work, overcoming any limiting self-beliefs, I work on a prescriptive level. I tell people I don't consider my readings prophetic. I consider them prescriptive. I help a lot of people with visibility and how they see themselves, especially feminine leaders showing up in the world. Feminine leadership doesn't mean you have to be on social media, but just a woman taking up space in the world, taking up space in her home, because even taking up space in your home as a woman impacts the rest of us collectively. It starts with educating women from the home upward into all sectors of society. So if you are a woman just in this world, especially that feels she deserves a lot, you deserve love, you deserve visibility, you deserve to be confident, and you deserve to have everything, money, everything. I'm a believer that we can have it all. I don't have to pick and choose. So as long as you want that and you want to overcome the things that are holding you back from that, I'm your girl. um
Ooh, this is like such a Venus North Node, Pisces eighth house combo. Everything you just said, like people with eighth house placements really collaborate so amazing. Like they make you like enter into dynamics with eighth house people and they bring out like an alchemy. So you're just talking about like having what you want, like not having, being able to have it all. So Venus Pisces North Node eighth, like fuck yeah, I love that.
and I love it. And I'm here to be like, sharing in the messiness of the human experience with other people. Like I'm not like it's like I'm like if you don't want to be judged, like we're not going to judge you. Like I'll come, like let me come into your shit. Like, okay, like it's a little messy in here. It's like, did you ever watch Magic School Bus?
Yeah.
You know how Miss Fizzle's like, oh, we're going up the asshole today, but we're gonna find all the beauty in it. Like I think she had such a way of like finding beauty in the messiness of whatever she went into, and it was very mystical and all these things. I was like, I'm kind of like, in my Miss Fizzle era where it's like, look, we're just gonna make it an adventure. We're, there's some things we're doing for the plot, and the plot will thicken, and you're gonna have to find your way through it. But, you know, um, it goes back to something you said a while ago, and I appreciate you saying that. I celebrate my wins, and I'm still working on that more because I want women to celebrate their wins without without shame, without guilt, because there's just a lot of people that don't want to see women win. There's other women who don't want to see women win because they've internalized misogyny and sexism and capitalism, all this shit. And at the end of the day, it's just like, you deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to like have the best of this experience. A lot of our grandmothers, our aunts, our mothers, women that we know, sisters, die leaving this experience where dumbass people cry over their fucking grave and, oh, she was such a good woman. Like, I don't give a fuck about someone saying I was really a good woman on my tombstone. I want them to be like, she stood for something and she got everything she fucking deserved. I think that's something I want to post today. Like, fuck putting I was a good one. Like, I stood for something and got everything that I deserved. Like,
That's like another Venus and Pisces eighth house transmission. Sorry, and I cracked up about the plot thing because it just made me think of the reading I got from you, and it did thicken the plot. Like the advice you gave me and the way that like, yeah, it was a definite magic school bus adventure that you sent me on. So
a lot of a lot of women are afraid to be disruptive in a way that's going to benefit them for their destiny. And for a very long time, and it's literally in all my astrology in every modality, like, I'm here to be a disruptor. I had a man comment on one of my twerking videos and he was like, I thought you were a decent woman. And I was like, actually no, I am not a decent woman. I didn't come here to be a decent woman. I came here to be a disruptor in the skin suit of a woman. Take it as you feel. Take it as you feel. So one-on-one coaching, mentorship available through thetrapwitch.com. If you go to my page on Instagram, the Trap Witch, I have all my offerings in my link in bio. I've slowed down a little bit on classes right now to give myself some rest, but we're going to get them back up and booming soon. And right now I'm doing egg cleansing reports. They are a session in a report, really and truly, if you want to get started on something and you're not ready for a one-on-one. But yeah, right now those are the two offerings I feel best about because I'm giving myself some much needed care. But yeah, and getting back on YouTube, going to do some more vlogging again soon. And it's a big year for a lot of us too as leaders and women, to drop the mask and get messy and get authentic and not be as performative, because a lot of, there's a lot of this performance attached to capitalism, especially even in the coaching community and in the spiritual community. And I'm just really excited about all the just the authenticity that's coming with like Pluto and Aquarius,
yeah.
and some of the other astrological transits. What I wanted to tell you, and I'm going to end up sending you a picture, the meaning of seeing the caterpillars on the branch outside was transformation and union, which is a lot of what we were talking about. Okay. Um, the evolution of the soul can be intertwined with intimacy. We're not always transforming alone. Another one was fertility, growth, and new life. Green is the color of life, heart energy, abundance. It might signal the seed of something new being planted. We are in fertile periods of creative projects, love, or healing. Creation is happening, even if it looks slow or unremarkable now. This is a lot of what we've been talking about too. Patience with the process. They are slow, deliberate, and not yet in their final form. Mating is an instinctive step before rebirth. Spirit may urge us to trust the divine timing of our growth, honor the stages before the glow up. We can be in sacred preparation, let love and purpose develop slowly. And one of the other ones was subtle energetic exchange. Mating caterpillars exchange energy for next generation life. Spiritually, we might be merging with someone or something energetically, experiencing the consequences of past energetic bonds or karmic contracts. Every exchange plants something. What are we creating through our connections? And so we can say we honor the sacred unfolding of our transformation, knowing that union, creation, and patience are all a part of the path to becoming.
My heart is exploding. Thank you for that.
I feel like this whole I'm gonna like go outside right when we're done and take this picture because it's like it's just so beautiful. They are like face to face, just like in each other's face at rest. Like, it's so beautiful. And
Wow.
And just to give you some more context for the girls who are like into all the omens, the plant that they are on outside my window, unfortunately, because it's been so hot the past week, all the flowers have died. But right before that they died, they were just blooming so beautifully. And I think they were called Devil's Trumpet or Angel Trumpet. It's either Devil's Trumpet or Angel Trumpet.
Oh, those
Angel
yellow ones?
White Trumpet flower. Okay, I found it. Images. Oh no. Angel trumpet flower. Because my homegirl, she had told me the meaning of them too. Yeah, they are called Angel's Trumpet. So yes, two mating intimate green caterpillars on the now transitioned Angel's Trumpet. And the beautiful thing I noticed about them is that they bloom at night. So they bloom in the moon in the shadow.
Ooh. Well, this is wildly romantic and amazing.
Isn't
This
it
is so
so
magical. What a magical bow to wrap on an epic conversation. And thank you so much for this conversation and yeah, all the inspiration. It's been really amazing. And I'm so grateful I got to talk with you.
Likewise, thank you for having me and creating this space.
Thank you.